morning, everybody. Man, it's good to see everybody. Welcome to Invisible Condition. I'm your host, Jeff Pearson. We created this show because we want everyone with an invisible condition to know that they have a voice in a community and they are not alone, never alone. And so speaking of not alone, I have a guest with me today, Evelyn. Hello, Evelyn.
Hi.
Good morning. I know you just you just told me how to pronounce your last name and I forgot already in the 2 minutes between the time you told me and now. So to pronounce your last name for me.
It's Jacobucci.
Jacobucci. There you go. All right.
Fine.
I say this in the best possible way, but memory is only the second thing to go, and I forgot the first years ago. So I'm it's a thing. Anyway, welcome. Thank you for being here. I'm so excited. This is great. Tell us about yourself, your family, what part of the country you're in, how you came to be there. Tell us all about yourself.
Okay. I was born and raised in Colorado. Born in the Arkansas Valley down Lahana Rocky Ford area. And then we moved up here into Denver when I was 8. And then I've lived up here ever since. Lived in Castle Rock for a couple of years and then lived back here in Lakewood. So that's where we've always lived. Haven't done much different than that. I'm a single mom. I have 4 kids. My oldest daughter is 19. She's off on her own, doing her own thing. And then I have a 12-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 10-year-old. The 12 and 11 are boys, and then my 10-year-old youngest is a girl.
That's awesome. Off on their own. Castle Rock, that's a cool place. I always thought that would be a fun place to live. When we moved here to Colorado Springs 20 whatever years ago, I was like, "Ooh, Castle Rock."
It was great. We got there in the early 2000s, and it was still that small town feel, and it was great. I loved it.
Not anymore. Yeah, I know.
City's gotten to it.
I know it's too close to Denver. It's getting bigger. So I thought this was kind of crazy when you sent us, some information about what we were going to be talking about. You sent something about a self-described like zebra diagnosis, which is what we called the show because we thought, hey, why not?
Right.
What is that? What is that describing? What condition are you describing with that?
So I have what's called acute intermittent porphyria. And I think an important thing to remember about porphyria is there are subtypes of porphyria. So I have some of the acute types. There are the cutaneous types, which then affect the skin. So mine affects the nervous system.
And what was that big word you just heard that you said?
Cutaneous.
Sorry, I do not have. I'm a 2 syllables or less kind of guy, so I didn't quite catch that word. What does that mean?
So I mean skin. It's all that skin. When we talk about what porphyria really is, the buildup happens in either your nervous system or your skin. And so for the acute types, which there's AIP, the acute intermittent, and then there's HCP, the hepatic coporphyria. So I know big words. And I'm sure I'm mispronouncing them too. So and those are the acute types. Those are the buildup in that nervous system. And then the cutaneous then obviously is the buildup on the skin. And so theirs is more a skin affected issue.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. That explains it a little bit. I still don't understand it, but that's what we're going to talk about.
I don't understand it all either.
No, I get it. Yeah, just because we live with it doesn't mean we totally get it. I know.
Right? Yeah.
So I'm just gonna. There's people watching live, and I always want to ask because you never know, right? That's what I've learned over the time doing this show is. You never know who might be out there that, I don't know how rare it is. We'll get into that, but who out there knows somebody that has any form of porphyria? I mean, I like different types. Let us know. Comment on the Facebook page while you're watching, or it'd be great to hear from you and see maybe we can have a conversation. Yeah. When did you start noticing things were going a little crazy and started noticing some of the symptoms?
Well, I'm adopted. So, there's always been that kind of genetic link that we're never quite sure about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Um, so that's been kind of the concern. At about 8 years old, we started noticing some changes. I would start having headaches that were unexplained, stomach aches. I just was not, I didn't have the functioning nervous system that a normal kid does. So
Gotcha.
that really was hard. And then as I got older, and hormones especially affect this condition. So as I went into puberty, things got worse, especially surrounding, the menstruation cycle. And anytime around there, the symptoms seemed to get worse, abdominal pain,
Mm.
what we thought were cramps, those type of things. Um, and nobody really had a good suggestion or solution. So at 18, I had my first surgery to try to correct the problem. And they said, "You have endometriosis. That's it.
That's
Let's
what I was just going to say. Yeah.
let's do a
Yeah.
laparoscopy. Let's get that out. You're going to be fine now." And so I went into that surgery with such high hopes, like I'm going to feel so much better, right? Like
Yeah.
I, in fact, spent almost an entire year in bed in my teens, not
Oh,
able to eat, not able to drink, just really
oh
suffering from what we could not figure it out. And of
no.
course, all the doctors to my parents are saying, "Oh, her blood tests are fine. Everything's fine. It's all in her head."
It's
So
yeah, it's
my
all in
parents,
your head. Sure. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
My parents, being the best parents
Ugh.
that they possibly could, sent me to mental health professionals, and the
Oh
mental
no.
health professionals are like, "I don't know."
Yeah.
So that was really difficult and frustrating, because then I felt like I just need to keep being quiet about it. I don't need to tell anybody. There's nothing wrong. It really is a mental issue.
Ugh.
So, I went into that surgery at 18 feeling like this is going to be the solution I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And 6 laparoscopies later, I had my appendix out, I had my gallbladder out. I've had numerous surgeries to correct what they assumed were hernias,
Oh.
and a full hysterectomy.
Whoa.
And all of that to say that now the full hysterectomy was as a direct result of the porphyria, to get rid
Okay.
of these hormones. But all of that to say, I've had all these surgeries and I'm still suffering.
Yeah.
It doesn't change. And so, you come out of that first surgery, you've got the hope, and you're like, it's going to get better. And it doesn't. And then you get really depressed and frustrated
Yeah.
because you can't tell your parents anymore, because they're just like, "Oh, I don't know. Like, we've taken you out all the specialists and you're fine." And you can't
Mm.
tell your friends anymore because they're getting sick and tired of hearing, "I don't feel good," and not really having a solution to it.
Well,
And
yeah. I mean, there's a difference between there's a difference between an illness when you're sick and
yeah,
that and a condition that you were born with that you will live with
yes.
forever.
Mhm.
An illness can sometimes be uh,
Cured.
taken care of, or I
Yeah.
don't know if I say cured, but you kind of do it with it
Yep.
cured,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
um, with like a procedure or removing something or whatever. But with a condition, you're you, it is what it is,
It's
man.
Yeah.
So
You feel like you lack hope because it is.
it
It's
can be
forever.
there. Yeah, you can totally
It's
feel
forever.
like that. Well, and especially if your friends and family are I had that happen at work sometimes, where I'd come back from a surgery and
Mhm.
every surgery I have is for maintenance to keep me
Yeah.
alive, you know.
Mhm. Mhm.
But but there was people that would come up and say, "Ooh, so you're good now. You're good, you're back." It's like, well,
No.
how do we explain this in a way that you'll,
Right.
understand. So I get it. Yeah, I totally. I was gonna say like endometriosis or fibromyalgia. That would have been like with those things you were describing. That would have been my go-to.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And thankfully, like I stuck to it. I stuck to it.
Yeah.
I stayed firm. I found the job of my dreams. and I started working
Nice.
for Homeland Security,
Ooh,
and I was doing really well there, and I felt like that was where I belonged. That finally was where I fit, and I loved it. I loved that job. I was a single mom by that point to my oldest daughter,
okay.
and I knew I needed to work. Like, we needed to keep a roof over our heads. We needed to keep ourselves, fed,
Yeah.
all of that. So I pushed through a lot of the illnesses, and then it started affecting me where I was actually passing out at work and
Oh.
needing to be taken away in an ambulance. And when you've got badges that open doors that most people shouldn't get through,
Yeah,
scary feeling. That really is
that's
that's
so
how you
great.
feel, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
this is not good. And so I turned almost suicidal
Oh,
because it was just I was gonna lose my job that I loved. I couldn't take care of my child.
yeah,
I felt worn.
yeah.
And so I actually was in a massive flare, major gut pain, all of that, and I went to the hospital, and of course, by this time, everyone at the hospital knew me by name, and they just gave me IVs and some pain relief, and that was it, uh,
Oh,
but I went in that night, and I was frustrated. And I told them, I said, "If you don't help me, then just don't send me home," like,
right.
because
Just
I'm not gonna
yeah.
make it.
I'm done.
I'm not gonna make it, and a new doctor walked in to the room, and she said, "I think I know what you have." And I was like, "That's funny."
Get in
Like,
line. Yeah.
right, like, I've heard that 1,000 times before. And so she says, "No, I think you need to go and get tested for porphyria." And I was like,
Ooh,
"What?" And I was like, "No,
what the
that's
heck is
not
that?
it.
Yeah.
Like, what is that? And I don't have it. Like, whatever." And I even called my doctor the next day and said, "Hey, I think I need to be tested for this." Now, of course, like, we've had all the tests in the world, right? Like, we've already gone through all the tests. And he is like, "You don't have porphyria." And I was like, "Cool. Can we check for it though?" Like, I
I
just
live in this body. You don't. Let's
know,
maybe.
right? There's no harm in checking. So we did. We checked, and he called me and he apologized. And he said,
Mm.
"I would have never thought." And even my OBGYN, she said, "I feel so bad." She said, "I actually like studied porphyria in college, and I can't believe that I missed it." And I'm like,
Wow.
you
Wait.
know,
So you glossed over something that I want to point out. I mean, you
mhm,
didn't gloss over it, but you kind of just in conversation casually said something that I
mhm.
want to make sure people heard. Your who was it? Your doctor, your GP, or
Yes,
who apologized that actually
my GP. Yeah,
apologized to you because they got it wrong and
correct.
felt like they should have got it right and
Yeah.
or you know that that hang on to that one.
Oh,
Hang
I
on
do.
to that one because
I do.
because not because I like it when doctors are wrong. I don't. I like it when they're right and they fix things that are wrong. But that is an amazing human quality that not a lot of people in general have.
Correct.
That
Oh,
can admit that they're wrong and apologize when they make a mistake. So
he's a very
you
strong
found a good
Christian
one.
man, and his faith definitely carries him, and so
Yeah,
I remember
that's
him
incredible.
praying with me a bunch of times before visits because we just couldn't figure out the problem, and
Wow.
so I guarantee, like, God just led me to the right person, the right doctor,
Yeah.
because not all doctors would, and not all doctors would say,
No.
"Sure, let's just test for that," like, "That seems like something we
Mm-mm.
would do."
No. No.
So
No. No, that's incredible. I love that. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
No,
take up more time,
you're
but I
fine.
had to go back and say something about that because
Yes.
that blew my mind. I don't hear that hardly ever. So that's
No.
really cool. Um, yeah. So oh, by the way, I'm gonna check this out.
Oh. That's my oldest daughter. Aw, love you, Bree.
So, yep, she was the first comment up there. She's like, "Yeah, that's my mom right there." So, so yeah. So, what prognosis do they give you when they after they finally figured it out after all these, you know,
Right.
you know,
Oh, I'm so sorry, but here's
what?
what you have,
Yeah,
right?
okay. So now here's what you have. So then,
Oh,
what did they
doom and
say?
gloom. Doom and gloom. Doom and
Oh,
gloom,
come on.
there's no cure, there's nothing. And at that point in time, he says, I've done some research and it looks like 45 is the average age. And I'm like, I'm 30.
Average age of what?
I was 30 at that time. And
Wait.
I'm like, stop for a minute, like 45?
Average
Like,
age of
15
somebody.
more years. Right. Yes, the
Oh,
average age. And I thought, wait a minute, like what? So I started doing my own research because man, knowledge is your power. Knowledge is your
yes.
power. And no matter what your condition is, once you receive a diagnosis or your child does or whatever, start researching, like, and never, ever, ever, ever stop, because new things come all of the time. And nowadays, if you Google what the average lifespan for a porphyric is, because I am 43 right now.
Yeah.
I am 43 years old, and here I am. Like, and I'm okay. Like, I don't think I'm gonna die in 2 years. Like,
No.
trust.
No, you're-
But
no,
I'm
no.
pretty good for somebody who's 2 years away from the doom and gloom diagnosis.
You know what? I'll just say this. I'll just throw this out there.
Mhm.
They can go to as much medical school as they want, but when they get out, they have a baseline,
Correct.
and that's why they call it practicing.
Right. And
So,
nowadays, if you Google how long porphyrics live, it's average lifespan.
yeah,
And to
and we
me,
have to talk in averages.
huge. Right.
I mean, yeah, I understand that, but it's still not great to hear that out loud.
Like when I was 30, that was a really that was a big slap in the face because I
Yeah.
had a daughter. I had a daughter, and I knew at
Right.
45 she would be turning 21, and that would be hard. And also, I was pregnant with my son at that point.
Yeah,
And I think that was huge. Like, I thought this baby's not going to be very old. He's going to, he's going
what
to
the
need
heck's
me.
gonna happen? Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, that's
That's scary.
terrifying.
That's a scary point to be. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure you and your whole family, and of course, I am very glad that you are not, on death's doorstep. That's not a fun place to be. So,
Well,
come on.
hopefully
Oh my
we'll stay here.
Wow, that's crazy. See, it cracks me up that they say stuff like that, but I know they have to. Like, I know they have to. I get it. But it's like it's all about the bedside manner, right? It's like, how did they tell you? And so, sorry, you're gonna.
Congratulations on your diagnosis, but you're gonna die.
Oh, by the way, yeah.
Yeah, I wish that they would just say, that's if you don't get treatment. If you don't get treatment, your blood pressure is going to go off the roof and your heart's going to take a beating. Like, yes, you can definitely die, but get some treatment and you have hope. Like,
you could die stepping off a curb tomorrow. I mean, it's
absolutely.
Let's not. Yep. So
I almost died choking on water the other day. So
yeah, haven't we all done that? So no choking allowed. That's what I usually tell people. It's like, nope. We don't allow that on this show. Sorry.
Right? I'll try.
So, oh my goodness. Oh yeah. Well, I tell you what, we time flies when you're having fun.
It does.
And oh, by the way, Bobby Joseph just chimed in too, by the way.
Oh, that's my mom.
So we can look at some of these comments here in a minute, but I'll pop a couple more up there when we come back. But we got to go to a commercial real fast, and then I'm gonna take you off, and then we'll be right back. So thank you, everybody. So excited that you're here, and we'll be right back in just a minute. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Let's bring Evelyn back so we can talk some more. Thank you. Hello, Evelyn.
Hi.
Oh man, we were having a little too much fun on that last thing, and I think we didn't get to one of my questions I was going to ask you, but it doesn't matter. Whatever.
Okay.
Roll with it, baby. Is it? we'll figure it out. So, oh, that's right. I was gonna look at some of the. Let me see. Oh, Kimmy is on there, and Brianna.
That's you I met today.
You got a fan club today, man.
I do.
I'll tell you what. So yeah. So what like medical speaking, I know we've been talking about it a little bit, but like medically speaking, if you said I have porphyria, what does that mean? Like what happens inside the body? What depends on who you are. Like what's going on?
So in our bloodstream is heme. It produces your red blood cells. It helps produce your red blood cells. So in the creation of heme, everybody's body automatically creates porphyrins in your bloodstream. And there's these 8 enzymes that help break down those porphyrins and create the heme. When you have a porphyric, one or more of those enzymes is either missing or kind of messed up. And so then the porphyrins start building up because they can't be distributed and used in the correct manner. So that buildup will either go to the skin, which is then those skin type porphyrias that we were talking about, or in the acute types, the AIP and the HCP, they build up in your nervous system. And so it can start affecting pain. And so you end up with a lot of pain where it shouldn't be. And that can be really confusing.
Okay. And in the nervous system, so does that mean you would have, is it possible that you would maybe have like tics that you didn't have before, like involuntary movements or anything, or is it not that kind of nervous?
No, it wouldn't be the nervous system that way. It's definitely going towards the pain receptors.
The pain receptors.
So then you have things like seizures with porphyria. That can happen as well. So, they call porphyria the little imitator. It tends to mimic all these other sort of diseases and disorders. And so they see a seizure, and of course, epilepsy, you're automatically labeled with epilepsy, so they don't go any further into it. And so it tends to be kind of that block that doctors see, she has epilepsy, or, the big one is abdominal pain. And I cannot tell you how many times everybody in the ER is there for abdominal pain. Everybody and their sister and their brother and their cousin and their mother. And so that's what ERs see all the time. And so when you come in there and you tell them I've got abdominal pain, they're going to look at you like, so does everybody.
Get in line. Yeah.
Right. And so I think the difference is we haven't eaten anything. We haven't done anything to promote the pain. And we probably have already taken every medication known to man to try to get rid of it. And we probably had every surgery imaginable to get rid of it. And so a lot of porphyrics will tell you they're missing their gallbladder, they're missing their appendix. The females usually have had a hysterectomy.
Yep.
And so a lot of times we've gone down that road. And so it just imitates everything. And so the body just builds this up, and the pain is incredible. I've had it described by numerous people. I've had 4 children.
Yeah.
I've been in labor with 3 of them. All 4 were C-sections, thank goodness. But I've had labor pains with 3 of them and almost a full delivery with 1 of them. And I can tell you something. I would rather have a baby than have the pain from a porphyria flare. But I can also tell you this, that we are little imitators too as porphyria warriors, because we will never tell you that we're in pain. I can walk into an ER like this in level 9 pain. But again, pain levels are totally subjective to the patient.
Exactly.
And that's a big thing. For me, my level 10 pain might be a 4 for somebody else. Or it might be like beyond what anybody else has ever felt.
Yeah. that 1 to 10 scale cracks me up. I have a lot of friends that are in the medical, that are surgeons and nurses and whatnot.
Yes.
And they know me well, and so they know that, like you said, you see me walking down the street like this, I'm probably at most normal people's at most normal people's 4 right now,
Right.
as we're talking, and my 4 might be somebody else's 8, but we've gotten so used to it, which is bad and good, because
yes,
we can function, but bad because sometimes we don't go to the hospital when we should, because we don't go until it almost kills us.
My nurses
we're laughing.
If my nurses are on here right now watching, don't tell anybody. But
yeah, don't.
I don't. My nurses will be like, I think you need to go in. Like, okay, maybe tomorrow.
You didn't hear that. Nobody heard that. Yeah.
Nobody heard that. My nurse is gonna pop on here and be like, oh, I know.
Yeah.
I think that is definitely a problem. We definitely we cover it up a lot of the times, not only for other people's sake, for our own sanity's sake. I think it can drive you. Thanks, Bree. That's my nerd. Well, Bree's my nerd, but Stephanie's my nerd.
All right, just put that in there for you.
So
sorry, go ahead.
It's fine. Because I think if you allow it to fester, like if you just sit there and think about your pain, you're gonna go crazy.
Oh man.
But I mean, so I think that we just tend to gloss it over, not just for others, but for ourselves.
Yeah.
Like we need that. We need that sanity in our minds. And so we find things to distract ourselves in the pain, a game, a video, a movie, whatever it is that we can find to distract ourselves. And that's what we focus on instead. And so we tend to have these almost OCD symptoms where like we are just focused on this thing and we're just doing it. And everyone's like, what are they doing? And it's like, I'm not OCD. I'm in a lot of pain and this is distracting me. And so I'm just going to focus on this.
Or like rigidity and routine, right? Like, like I'm doing this because like, for me, it's a memory thing because I've had so many brain surgeries. It's just, it's woo, but so for me, it's for a different reason, but I imagine other people do it too, where they, because it's familiar, and so it's one less thing to think about, and so they can concentrate on something else, and then they, so.
And I think memory along with that, it also goes to medications. I think I've learned to kind of work around my medication side effects, the tiredness, all of that. I have learned to just kind of work around it, and so. You wouldn't know that I'm heavily medicated sometimes. And so, but I can be right up to you and they're like, oh, have you taken your medicine? Yeah, I did. But then your memory goes because you're like, I don't know. Because, you can make this look good, but this doesn't work very well.
Even vitamins and stuff, with medications, forget about it. When I was, I had something earlier last year or something, and I was on several medications, which I temporarily, thank God, I can't stand taking meds. But I literally had to draw out on a pad like every single day. It was like a little matrix little thing, and I had to draw it out. And if I didn't check off every single one as I took it, I was bothering my wife every 5 minutes. I don't remember. Did I take that? Did I take that one? I think I took that one this morning. Did I take it this time? Oh my gosh. So it's drives me nuts.
I have 100 alarms on my phone. 90% of them are take this medication, take that medication. And then it gets even worse when you have kids. And I have a son with epilepsy who needs medication, and then he also has severe allergies, so he needs medication for that. And then I have a son with autism and sensory processing, the SPD, so he needs medication. So after a while, it's like the alarms are going off every hour, and you're like, okay, who needs it this time?
You need to hire an assistant, maybe. That's what I
do. I need to do that. I have allowed my 12-year-old to be in charge of his own medicine alarms. They're on his phone now.
Exactly. right? Get reminders going on his own phone. I think I probably have
It's gonna tell me
28,
it's time. I don't need to ring it.
right? I think I'm with you though. I think if you were to look at my phone right now, I think I'd have like 28 active reminders on there right now. I think I just looked at it before we started, and it's like, because you didn't, but so when, and I digress. Sorry, we're getting off here. This is like, woo. Did we, is there any kind of did the doctor that they finally figured it out, right? That was the guy that was like, I'm sorry, here's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Did they give you any explanation of the cause, or was it a fluke? Was it a genetic thing? Was it like, what the?
It's definitely genetic. It's definitely genetic. It carries more female genes. That's not to say that a male cannot have porphyria, and there's definitely many that do. But it carries more on the female gene. If you have inherited it, more than likely you've inherited it from your maternal side.
Oh, wow.
But that's not to be said that a man that has porphyria can't pass it on. But genetically speaking, that's more how it works, is the maternal side of it. At least for the acute porphyrias. I'm not entirely sure how the cutaneous, obviously, they're still genetic, but I don't know if those are also maternal specific.
So is there? You mentioned like 3. Is that how many types? Is there just?
I think there's subtypes under there as well.
Sure.
Like when you're talking acute, you're talking the acute hepatic porphyria, and then that's the AHP, and then you're talking the acute intermittent porphyria, AIP. Those are the acute, and then like the erythropatic porphyria, that is the skin. So I think there's subtypes under there. There's something like 6 or 7 subtypes.
Oh, wow.
You can definitely, I think the goal first is to get that porphyria diagnosis, and that's the hardest. Once you get that, it's going to be obvious which kind, whether you have the skin type or whether you have the acute type. I think that's going to be really obvious. The acute type is really, you are born with that. It is going to be a problem from the minute you're a baby to your life. And so that's kind of where we get the vampire diagnosis is we can't be in the sun.
Right? That's not a good name. Come on.
It's not. And so and that's kind of what I've learned is I'll tell doctors I have porphyria. Oh, you're a vampire. No, not really.
No, seriously, where does that come from? Like, why is it the vampire diagnosis?
With your erythropatic porphyria or the skin types, the cutaneous types, you can't be in the sun. Because the sun, the UV light is what causes the blisters and all of that. And so it is completely in the dark. There's a lot of shows. House has had a few episodes on both the acute and the cutaneous types. And honestly, I think House is one of those shows that has done a really good job of showing what porphyria really is without dramatizing it too much. I think that's really important to see because a lot of shows will dramatize it and it's just this easy diagnosis, and it's not. Even House didn't think it was it when it was down there. So I think that's where it gets sticky. But so you stay inside. I with the acute porphyria types, I find that if I'm out in the sun too long, I'll get pretty sick. So I don't know that it affects the acute porphyria types as much as it affects those cutaneous types. But we get that. And then, of course, the madness of King George. Everyone goes there with this. Madness of King George is there. King George, one of the symptoms of porphyria, it's kind of the poor man's test. Not everybody's urine does this. So it's the poor man's test, though, is that you can place your urine when you're in a flare, when you're having pain, in a clear container and put it in your window where it's going to be in the sun. And some porphyric urine will turn purple.
Oh, wow.
Some will turn purple straight as they're peeing. That is another thing. So mine just turns a really ugly dark tea color. And for years we thought I was dehydrated, here, drink some
All
more
kinds
water.
of stuff. Yeah, you could
So
contribute to that.
you're
Yeah,
like, no, that's not it at all. Because I think, the secret is dehydration is more an orangey red color.
sure.
This is really a darkish brown. And what you're seeing is that hemi coming out, is that blue
Yeah,
coming out. And
sure.
so it's gonna turn that purple because it's being exposed to UV light. And so
Wow.
when you think about the madness of King George, that was one of the symptoms that he had, was this
So
odd
great.
colored urine. And
Yeah.
so, and that's what made him go crazy. And the pain can make you lose your mind.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really important too, is that we're not crazy, but man, we're in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And it is daily. Once it gets out of control, there is no reining it back in. It turns chronic. And then it's
Yeah.
every day, all day, and you're fighting it all the time. And it's so frustrating that you
Sure.
just get angry, not because of the pain, out of frustration.
Yeah, totally. Oh man. Yes. I
Out of frustration, you just are like, "Ugh, stop the pain."
know. Well, and because of the pain and because of what it's not letting you do, right?
Yes.
You're limited because of it, because you want to do this, but you're in pain, so you got to do that instead. Yes, totally. I've been, and you got to be careful with that, because you don't want to be pissed off all the time, right? Like you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be the angry person that nobody wants to hang around. So it's hard, but I totally get it.
Oh, yeah. My friends know I try to be as positive as possible,
Yeah,
but there are just times when I have to shut off the phone and not talk to people,
totally.
because I know I'm going to give off that vibe of I am really mad right now, and it's not at you, it's at the world. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just mad.
So in 30 seconds or less, what do you wish people knew about porphyria that they don't? Like what would you wish that they could understand about this?
We are not the sum of our disease. We're the warriors that rise above it.
Love that.
We have this. We live with it, but it does not make us.
I love that.
What we do is how we rise above it and how we survive with it.
Man, that's perfect. I love that. That's awesome. Oh, well, that's that's, you know what? And unfortunately, that's the perfect time to take a commercial. But I'm gonna do that. But man, thank you. That was perfect. I love that. And we're gonna talk more about hope on the other side of this break. So here we go.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I am so excited about this. This is so cool. And like I said, on the other side of the break, we'll be talking about hope. We will see you in a minute. back, everybody. We're here with Evelyn, and we've been talking about all the crazy and all the well, crazy is about a good word for it. All the crazy that happens with porphyria. Am I getting that right? I swear. I'm gonna. Here we go. That one. There.
That one.
Intermittent porphyria, and so there's a lot of crazy with it. We get that, but I mean, we I think you said it earlier in the show. About hope, if you don't have hope, you are going to go crazy.
Yeah,
you will go nuts. I mean, without hope, we got nothing, right? Even
right.
if it's the littlest amount, right? So, how do you day to day with everything that everything that we just talked about? I mean, all the crazy. How do you find hope day to day?
A lot of it is prayer and faith. You have to have that, otherwise you're lost. I don't know how people without faith go on, because I don't know how I would go on. I know that a lot of times in the hospital rooms, they would come in and I would either be just reciting the same Bible verse over and over and over again, or I'd be singing the hymn, "It Is Well With My Soul."
Nice.
That song is meaningful because it is well. My soul is fine. My body might not be, but my soul's just fine. And so that song, I would sing it over and over and over again. And I always told myself, you can do anything for 50 seconds. You can do anything for 30 seconds. You can do anything for a minute.
Yeah.
And so I would go through that. And I think I always told myself, in the grand scheme of things, in the grand scheme of eternity, this little blip is just the tiniest little blip on the radar.
Yeah.
And so I know that for eternity, I'm going to be just fine. And so I can get through this by knowing that I have an eternal peace.
My, I think it was, I can't remember, it was this last Sunday or the Sunday before that our pastor was talking about it. It was how temporary everything is and how this is a tent, and sometimes it might have tears in it that just stitch up and you got duct tape all over it. The tent doesn't have to be pretty at the end of the journey. It's because it's not our home. This is not our eternal destination, so
Right.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I have to remember that sometimes too, because tents are temporary, right? Nobody camps forever.
The knowledge,
So,
the knowledge that eternity is peaceful, and the knowledge that eternity is what's promised, I think is helpful in the scheme of things. The other thing that I think helps, that I didn't really understand when I was first diagnosed, is that God always answers prayers. But just like a parent, those prayers can sometimes be answered with a no, or a not right now, or that's not for you. And so I think we only think about the yes answers. We only think about the please heal me, please help me. And then we get angry when it doesn't happen. And so I don't blame him for what is happening.
No.
Because I think he's using it for his glory. He will use it to bring somebody to Jesus. And beyond everything, can I help somebody with their diagnosis? I hope so. But beyond that, I need to give them that hope that's on the other side of that, which is Jesus and his healing peace. Because unless your soul is at peace, your body can't be either. You're never going to be able to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's really an important piece of the puzzle. And I feel like that's missing sometimes. But my life verse is Jeremiah 29:11. And I say that all the time.
I love that.
I think he's offering you such peace and such calm. So I'm sure that people don't know. And Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future.
Love it.
And so I think that right there, he's going to give me a hope and a future. Yeah. And I know that I'm going to be healed. I will be healed. The answer is yes. Is it on this side of heaven? Probably not.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Heaven's there, and I will be okay there. And so, and I think I also think back to James. James says, count it all joy when you face trials. Yeah. I think that's really important, that we count it all joy to to say I have more faith in it. And it's not to say that my faith is better. I just have more faith because I know that I'm going to be healed. And so that faith
Yeah.
is there.
Well, and joy is different than happiness. Okay.
Right.
So,
Yes.
yeah, if everybody talks about, oh, what makes you happy? No, 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 no.
It makes
That
you joyful.
that is like, that's like the wind, here now and gone in a second, but what
Yes.
brings you joy, that's in here, that's internal, so, and that's lasting, so that's huge. Yeah.
Mhm.
I love that. I kind of have the same answer, but different verses, but different same answer. I totally agree with you.
Right.
I mean, he knows us better than anybody. So it's sometimes you just have that thorn in your side, and he says, no, you're gonna use it for something cool. So just wait, and I'll tell you that when you're
It's
ready.
all in his timing, and it's all
Yep.
in his choice and decision. And we just have to faithfully follow that, even
Yep.
though we don't understand it, that he does.
Well, he created us, so he understands better than we do. So it's
Right?
kind of
I
a,
hope so, because there's times when, man, I get so frustrated. I get
yeah.
really frustrated with life. I get frustrated because I think, God, I understand why I'm suffering. Like, okay, I get it. But then I watch my kids and it just makes me so mad because I'm like, I love my kids. I wouldn't trade them for the world. I love them. But when I see them hurting, suffering, it hurts me. But then it also bothers me that I am not a healthy parent, because I think, oh, how much better would a healthy parent be at
Eh,
handling these things? And then I think, no,
yeah.
wait a minute. Like, I know what it feels like to be a sick parent. And so, what better parent to parent a sick child than a sick parent? Because we feel it.
Yeah. Well, and you're teaching when everything's not hunky dory,
Right.
perfect. It teaches your children how to deal with adversity and how to
Yes.
help them. I mean, there's been times where I've been, on the floor with a, you know, whatever seizure or whatever, and the kid, on the kitchen floor, and one of the kids just comes over and brings me a pillow. It's like that's perfect. They don't have
Empathy.
to understand everything. They just
Yeah.
they want to help. So if
Yeah.
they know that you're hurting, let them help. It's huge. So what would you tell somebody that was receiving? And we don't have a lot of time left, unfortunately. But what if you met somebody that was just receiving the news that they were being diagnosed with porphyria of some sort, what would you tell them to encourage them?
Um, oh, wow. I think that's heavy. Um,
Besides, come to Jesus.
it's right, yes. Right. Let me introduce you to Jesus first, and then let's talk.
Then we'll talk. Yeah.
It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to have those bad days. And
Yeah.
it's okay to cry about it as long as you don't let it consume you.
Mhm.
And you are in the midst of amazing warriors. And we are all here for you. And this does not define you. You are going to be so much more than this. You are going to rise above it. It's going to be okay.
Nice.
It is. It's not going to, it feels like it's going to be forever, but I promise it's not.
Yeah. Speaking of that,
Aww.
she sent that earlier, but I didn't put it up yet. So that's pretty cool.
Aw.
Yay. So real quick, we only have literally like maybe a minute left, but is there any organizations or anything that have helped you that you would recommend that if somebody is finding out this, go here?
So there's two organizations. When you Google porphyria, there's a few that come up. There is a few organizations that I would turn people towards for research purposes. I would definitely research everything. I wouldn't just go with one specific organization. There's many out there. APF, the American Porphyria Foundation, definitely has a lot of information on it, from medications that can trigger it to the names of medications that can help. So the American Porphyria Foundation is up there, but then there's also the American Porphyria Alliance is out there as well. They have a lot of support groups out there that can help. So
Awesome.
I think I would encourage them to seek that. And obviously, they can reach out to me. Like, please do. I am happy to do that. I can give you my email address, and that is
When
really.
you share that, when after we're done here, you can. We love it when you share it, because a lot of people think that, okay, the live show's over, it's gone. It's not. It's gonna be on e360tv.com forever. It's on there, and you can comment on the string on Facebook, and you can share it out there, and then you can put that information with it too. So that
If you even think that you need to be tested or you want to be tested, please just contact me and I will help you get in touch with the people that can help you the best.
that's amazing. That's awesome. Well, thank you, Evelyn. Thank you for being here.
You.
This has been a blast. It always goes so fast. You blink.
I know.
So I'm.
I'll just have to come back another time.
Yeah, I mean, we should. We totally should. I agree.
We should go more in depth into the medical field of it.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's
All
do
right,
it. Let's
we got
figure
it.
out another day, and we'll figure it out. So thank
You
you for being here. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
All right, everybody. I have to go, but before I go, I wanna throw this out there. This is a big opportunity, and we have we do have a few spots left for sponsors or advertisers. If you want to get the word out, this is an awesome way to do it. And also guests, if you know anybody that is that has an invisible condition that they want to bring light to, I'd love to talk to them about it. It'd be amazing. Next show is going to be with Oliver Ean. Oliver is a personal trainer skilled in helping people with debilitating conditions like Parkinson's, MS, that kind of stuff. And like Alzheimer's, strokes, to be able to keep up your physical strength. And so it's really cool. And he is going to be on whatever the date is on whatever the date is on Friday. I'm drawing a blank, but he's going to be on the next show. So please tune in and check that out. You'll learn a lot. It's going to be great. So thank you for everybody for watching, and we will see you next time.